Hear me, and if your
Hi,
mics
Paul.
work. Oh, hi.
Afternoon.
How's everybody?
All good, thank you.
That's good. Honestly, it's so lovely to hear your voices. Because I thought for a moment there that it wasn't working, or people weren't going to come, and that was going to be like sad. It's going to be like, oh no.
So I've got my camera off. I'm just eating lunch. So
Oh, honestly, honestly, Jonathan, man, just do as you feel. Just like, pretend it's like some kind of like crazy version of interactive BBC Two from the 1980s. Just think of it like that. It's like Open University, but with like people actually can hear you a little bit. That's all it is.
Fair dues.
It's just coming in.
Jack, do you want to give it a minute, shall we say?
Good.
What time is it now, by anybody? I'll make it about 1 minute past 1.
Yeah.
I think we might have some people here from the military as well, so we'll have to say it's like 1300 hours, 1 minute past 1300 hours. That's what people do in the military. Did you know that, Jack?
I did, yeah. To be honest, in my last place there was loads, so we had to do it. We used to speak on radio, so you had constant military chat.
Did you used to say over when it was over?
No, people used to get really annoyed if you had to do it.
Cool. Did they over? Right, I'll stop doing. Yeah, so let's give it a minute. Hi, Bill. Thanks for attending. Bill, just one sec. Bill, is it true? Are you in a casino? Are you still there?
I just go back home to restore the power supply.
Oh man! Oh, well, how cool would that? I had visions of you being in the casino, like playing a bit of like I don't know, like roulette or something like that. Would have been so cool.
I was actually in the casino 1 hour ago. I just got back home.
Oh man, okay. Right, Anthony, I'm so pleased you're here. Thanks for coming, man. Thank you.
Nice to be here.
Cool.
Jack?
Right then, should we kick off?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Let's go for it. All right, well, thank you very much for joining, everyone. Today's presentation is going to be about Community Centre, with the big theme of community and technology. So work's changing, and we're really going to focus on how it can be a positive thing for you by utilising that power of technology and how it can really complement community. But before we go into it, we'll just start off with some introductions. So I'm Jack, consultant with Systock, work alongside Paul, Holly and Jeff. And some of the other members that are here today as well. Currently working on a big SAP ERP implementation. Cool. And I'll pass over to Paul.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Elnora, it's great to see you. I'm so pleased you're here. Woo, brilliant. I know you got up very early in the morning, just just for this. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, and okay, so for me, I'm a technology whisperer. That's what I am. Okay, so like what I do is I take technology, right, and I take the edges off it. I make it all nice and fluffy, like a nice cake, and then I'll make it dead palatable, and then we all consume it, and then we have lots of fun. That's it. Nowhere, by the way, am I saying my ideas are the best or the good, but hopefully they will plant some seeds inside of your minds, and then you'll want to do like things like this at the end of this. Hopefully, okay. Hopefully that's okay. Thanks very much. Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
No worries. And Holly?
Everyone, I'm Holly, and I work alongside Jack on the ERP implementation. Aside from that, I love getting involved with Paul and doing some of these, the future of work's changing and how technology can kind of help us. So if you've got any questions, put them in the chat and I'll shout them out, or just feel free to shout them out yourself.
Cool. Thank you. And then just a quick note on Systock. Some of you might not have heard of the company before. So we're a management consultancy organisation based in London. I got a hub in Leeds as well. Specialise in new system implementations, focus on change management, training, process work, organisational design, etc. And we have a key eye and passion really for technology, which hopefully you can get across today. And of course, we have someone, an expert on all things Microsoft 365, Paul, who's going to do the large presenting today too. There he is. Cool. So just before we go into it, we've got some housekeeping. So the session is being recorded. So if you don't want to be in the recording, just feel free to turn your cameras off. However, it is a big interactive session. Paul will also ask questions constantly throughout, and please feel free to do so vice versa. Right, we really want as much out of this as possible from you, and if there's something that you want to go into, ask the question, and I'm sure I'll be able to get some information. Saying that, I do appreciate that we might not cover every single thing that you're wanting to find out, but if there are questions or extra bits of information you want, just say leave it in the chat, or send us a message after, and we can try and make sure that we can follow up with you.
Jack, sorry, this is a bit of an amendment. I should have said this earlier. There's a feedback form in the chat, and in the feedback form, it says, you know, what do you think? And honestly, just answer it honestly. Just say what you think. And then we've got a new section in there now as well about what you might want to see in the future. We're going to do these every couple of weeks. So if you want to see like something or a bit of technology on something, or if you just want us to stop, yeah, just write that in there as well. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Cool. And finally, just thank you very much for attending. Really appreciate it. No, it's lunchtime for a lot of you, so it's good to see you here. So community, it's really easy to say, and the word itself really connects us with each other, right? It describes an experience so common that we never really take time to explain it. It's really simple, so natural and very human. And if we look at the quote here of what it really means, a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics in common, or the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. But the meaning of community is really complex, right? And that's because it's about the people. And community is not a place, a building, organization, or the exchange of information over the internet. But again, it's about the people. So members of community have a sense of trust, belonging, safety, and caring for each other. They have an individual collective sense that they can really be part of that community, right? And influence each other when they're in there. So community is different for each of us, but regardless of how we view it, there are ways that technology can really support us. And that's what we're going to try and look at today. So this session is the second in a series of sessions we're putting on that's been inspired by the book that our thought leader, Jeff Hardy, really loves, right? And it's called Out of Office. So it's a book by Charles Wiesel, Helene Peterson, and it identifies 4 key themes for modern day work. Flexibility, which is the first session that we delivered a couple of weeks ago. We've not got the link for this, but we will look to send it out after alongside this session as well. Just so if you wanted to, you can review that one. But today we're going to be looking at community and teamwork, and this is really about being part of something bigger. So that real focus is being placed on engagement in the workplace now. So we're going to look at how can technology support that. Personal development, and this is learning skills that will be useful in the future, not just those that have been in the past. And then fun. Now we all want work that's interesting and fun, and this is the most important one, of course. Hopefully we can get that across today. So community centre. The treasured feeling of community comes from those shared experiences and a sense of not necessarily the actual experience of, but that real shared history. As a result, people know who is and isn't part of their community. And this feeling is fundamental to human existence. Right? Most of us participate in multiple communities any given day, whether it's at work, our sport, family, or just a passion for something. Community is really flexible. And you become you can become different parts of communities across different days. So we offer our skills and experiences many different ways and situations, where just being yourself is the most important thing, and community for that is really essential. So for the next 45 minutes, Paul's going to take you through 3 commonly available technologies that will demonstrate really how community can benefit you and how you can get a glimpse then of what the future might bring for how technology is going to affect community as well. So on that, I'll hand over to you, Paul, to take us through a few of the slides.
Thanks, Jack. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. So, okay, I'm going to tell the story in 3 parts. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to say part 1. Okay, and I should really do a kind of one of those kind of like deep kind of voices that people use in those voiceovers when you do this, but I haven't got a deep voice, so I won't be doing it. But part 1 is, okay, finding out what's going on inside of a community. Okay, so I'm sure we can all appreciate, can't we? It's 2022. You know, by current kind of time standards, although it's only because we've got like a memory that we think there's a past, only because we've got like creativity that we think there's a future. But we all measure time, and so it's 2022, and in 2022, okay, you know, we're surrounded by lots of community tools. You know, we have YouTube, don't we? We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Woo, LinkedIn. Okay, yay. And so it's it's so easy to be part of a community or be part of many communities. And then the first demo that I want to do for this is it's about looking at Twitter and how we can use Twitter to kind of gauge what's going on in the community, but try and do that in a way which simplifies it or kind of makes it easier for us to consume. Apologies for some people on the call. I know Bill, because I went through some of this with Bill last week. We had like a bit of a session just to kind of see what would work and not. So if it's a bit boring, Bill, you can just dip out at this bit and come back in about 15 minutes because we'll be talking about something else then. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and so in here, what I'm going to do, oops, let me just get that off screen. That's me talking to Elnora and sending the link. And so this is my standard web browser. So for example, if I was going to go to Twitter, and I'll just type in Twitter like so, and this will take me off to Twitter within a web browser. I know it's very similar to what we would actually see within a mobile phone. So this is my Twitter feed at the moment, so I can see what's happening in here. I can also I can search Twitter. So for example, say I'm interested in things like artificial intelligence, which I am. I'm very interested in that. It's always hard to type. Do you find it hard to type, Jack, when you've got like people watching? I'm like, oh, where's the keys? Where's the keys? Weird, isn't it? And also you find like you kind of your mind shuts down to a degree. And so there we go. Oh, didn't do it correctly. Artificial intelligence. Okay. And so this is then it's gonna look through the kind of the the related tweets, and it's gonna show me these are the people who've got artificial intelligence named. And then in here, these are the latest artificial intelligence posts. Now, wouldn't it be great, right, that instead of having to come in here and actually do this, that what you could do is to kind of get a measure of the kind of the communities that we're involved in, that we could somehow get like a program or an application to look at all the kind of things that we're interested in on Twitter, and then send us a kind of an email at the end of the day. It's something that would actually kind of bind it all together for us. I mean, that would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? It would, Paul. It would. It would, wouldn't it? Well, hopefully it would.
Yes, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Is that you, Harry?
Yes, Paul.
Thank you, mate. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this. So this is Office 365. Oh, actually, I'll just come off screen share just momentarily. Does everybody on the call actually have 365? It doesn't matter if you don't. You do. Oh, very good. But if you don't have it, you can just kind of see what it does. And it's quite cheap. I mean, I'm not going to advocate Microsoft stuff too much because I don't, even though I do Microsoft, Microsoft 365 advocate here at, at SysTalk, I still think that, that they do lots of kind of things incorrectly and stuff. And I wouldn't call things power this and power that. I would just call them nice names and drop the power element. Anyway, so there we go. So in here, this is Microsoft 365. And inside of 365, I have got a tool called Power Automate. Okay. Now, what this is doing is, it's just like if anybody's played the game Mousetrap before, in that it's just a series of steps. It just goes step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's all it does, and then it kind of just does those things in sequence, and you can keep on redoing them. And it just saves an awful lot of work. So inside of here, I've created a flow, okay, and I've called this a few of my favorite things. Okay, so first of all, what it does is I've asked it within this flow, if I click on edit, to every time within Twitter, when anybody posts a tweet and it's got the hashtag artificial intelligence within there, then I've asked it to go and, well, first of all, tidy it up, kind of take out any unnecessary characters. But then after it's done that, to then post this information into a SharePoint list. Now, don't worry about SharePoint too much. It's only like a storage area within 365 where you can place things and just hold some information. So if I go into here for a few of my favorite things, then this is my SharePoint list. Now I started doing this, I think a couple of days ago. I kind of set this up, and we can see on here that these are recent tweets. If I say created newer to older, so we've got some tweets here. You know, people have actually, you know, kind of been tweeting, got binary language. We've got, you know, all these different kind of tweeters, these, you know, people who are using Twitter. And then here I've got when it was created. I've also got the tweet, okay, and I've got when it was tweeted at. And then I've got a measure of popularity, okay. So I can see in here how many times it's been retweeted. You know, if something's been retweeted a lot, the chances are, you know, it's something which is quite popular, you know. And in terms of like, sorry, that's my doorbell. Hopefully the postman will go away in a second. Oh, he's knocking on the door. Can everybody just bear with me just 10 seconds? I am so sorry. 1 sec.
Is this where we talk about Paul whilst he's not here?
Most definitely. Oh,
I'll be
nice.
careful. He can watch it back on the recording, so go gentle.
We would
Well.
only ever say nice things.
Thanks, Helen. Okay, so in here you can see all the kind of the, you know, the Twitter information coming in. And then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to ask on another floor to then send this as a collection of the tweets for that floor. So this floor that we've got here, all we're doing is, can I just check you can still hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool, marvelous. Okay, so on
Yeah.
here I've just said, you know, the trigger for this is just going to be a reoccurrence. So like whenever you've got like a, you know, a floor within 365, you always need a starting point. On the other floor we've just been looking at, the starting point on that was whenever a tweet's been made and it contains artificial intelligence. Well, the starting point for this floor is we're saying, I want you to start every day at 5 o'clock and then just do it, keep on recurring every day at 5 o'clock and just keep on sending me, you know, keep on actioning this flow at that time. That's all it is. If it was Monopoly, it would be like throwing a double and going to jail, you know, for those Monopoly players amongst us. That's all it is. It's just a trigger. And then in here, look, I'm saying, I want you to go and get the items out of the SharePoint list. Okay, and what I want you to do is, I want you to, if I just put my mouse over this, I want you to just get the tweets which have been done in the last 8 hours. And this is just an example. I mean, it can just do anything, right? You know, so I was saying before, this is hopefully just to plant some ideas for you all on the things that, you know, you would like to do. So, you know, instead of saying 8 hours, I could say it was the previous 16, or, you know, things from Monday. You know, I could just count back from the number of days that we have now. And then I'm saying order by retweets descending. So I want to see all the popular items at the top. Okay. And then I tell it, hey, go and put that in a table. So I say, you know, let's go and say, let's get the tweeter, put in the title. Let's say it was tweeted at, get the time. And then you get the idea. I mean, that's, you know, just matching up the data. And then I'm saying, hey, now send an email. Now here I'm saying send it to Paul Graham, right? But it could be anybody, you know, send it to anybody at all. And I'm saying call it today's top tweets. And then I went and got some code, which I stole, borrowed, I should say, from W3 Schools. Anybody use W3 Schools here on the call? Anybody? No? It's really good. If you ever want to learn about, you know, like tables and HTML and stuff, then look, whoop, you can just go and get some codes and say, oh, wow, that's a nice table. How did they do that? And you say, try it yourself. And then you can just go and like, come and get this kind of table format. How nice. Dead good. So I took a bit of that. And then I took the output from the step above, the HTML table, okay? And then I ran it. And then this is what it produces, this kind of thing. So then it was, what I'm doing is I'm getting a daily email, you know, it shows me the tweeter and the tweet at that time, a number of retweets, so I can see what's popular. And then I've got the links in here as well. So I've got, this is a good one. It says here, can artificial intelligence jeopardize bank loan growth? And then I can see all these hashtags in here. And then if I want to go and actually see the original tweet, I can do so. If I want to read the article, then I've got the article link in here, but I've also got the article link as well within the top link within my table here, and this will just link out straight to the article. Okay, so it's a really good way of of seeing what's happening within that kind of community space, but just doing it in a really simple way, a way that takes all the effort out of it. I mean, for me, yeah, for those people who've worked with me in the past, I'm dead lazy, right? I'm like super lazy, and so I just want to do things in the easiest way possible. And for this, what it does is it just tells you, this is the kind of thing that's happening. You can couple this as well with like other technologies. We're going to look at some sentiment analysis in a little bit. I love sentiment analysis. I know virtually every demo I do is on sentiment analysis in some way, but imagine, okay, imagine Olivia, that you and I, we've just launched a new type of potato chip out there, and and it's gone viral, and we've taken to Twitter, and we want to know what people think of it. We've just done a new flavor. We've just done an incredible like Italian mix-up, flavor. What do you call it? One of those, like, a fusion flavor. That's what we've done, and it's great, right? And but we think it's great. But what we've done is we've put it onto Twitter, and we were looking for the hashtag of that particular tweet, and then we're running sentiment analysis on it. And then what we're getting the computer to tell us whether it's positive or negative on people liking that flavor or not. I mean, it's really cool, right? We can use this on internal comms in organizations or external comms. You can pick it. Anyway, it's really good. So anyway, good, eh? Hopefully you enjoyed that. If anybody's got any ideas about how you could use that, or you would like a hand in using it, just get in contact. If it only takes half an hour often just to kind of explain these things through, I can always find half an hour for people, for free. If you want to do that, it's no problem. Okay, part 2, right? Before we go to part 2, any questions on part 1 at all? No, all still awake? Yes, good. Okay, right. Part 2 is, what does my community think of me? What does my community think of me? There's my deep voice. Not very deep, is it really? Okay, so surveys, right? What do I think about surveys? Oh, I hate surveys. I really do. I don't. Okay, I do. Hate's a strong word, but I do. I hate them because they're like often they're full of like loaded questions. I'm sure we've all attended something and the survey's gone, what did you think about this amazing event? Well, I didn't think it was amazing. And it's like, you're already on the wrong foot. Or like surveys that say things about income or marital status or religious affiliation. Like, well, what's that got to do with like me just giving a techno blog? Like nothing. You're like, what we're going to say, like people who had that religion didn't like. I mean, it's stupid, right? So I hate them. So wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better if we just got rid of all this like bias or hierarchy bias, and just find out, well, what do others really think of me? And just do it in like a much fairer way. So imagine, right, because we can use this, we can use our kind of like, our Outlook stuff. Imagine if for every event that we created using Outlook, for example, what we did was at some point of the day after somebody's attended one of those events, we sent them a Teams message, and we just said to them, what did you think of that session? Okay, and then they could, instead of saying like rated out of 5, that's one of the things I really don't like, because I'll rate this out of 5. I think on our feedback form we've got rated out of 5. Anyway, never mind. But I think we should stop doing that, because like, we're human beings and we don't rate things out of 5. It's just how we feel about stuff, so wouldn't it be good to say, well, it's how do you feel about it? And then whatever anybody typed in, then we ran the sentiment analysis on that, and then we determined if it was positive or negative, and then we could just get an overall picture, but it was without bias, and all we were trying to do was kind of self-improve. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is I've written this in Power Automate, and that's the other thing to say as well. All the flows that I'm showing you today, and if it's okay, we'll get in contact with attendees after today's session, just say where the video links are and stuff. If you want to drop me a line, if you want the flows, you can have them. If you want to pull them apart and just see how they work, hey, the offer's there. So so this flow that I've written does just that. So, but before I show the flow, Holly, should we demonstrate it?
Let's do it.
Cool. This is the Tomorrow's World moment of the presentation where you demo something and it might go wrong. It won't though, will it? It might.
It might.
It worked in practice, it worked in rehearsals. Okay, so this is it. Like you can see how I label things up as well. The CC means community centre. So this flow is called Community Centre 2, Automatic Spontaneous Event Feedback. It's got a grand title, hasn't it? It sounds great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say run. Right. Now, Holly, before I press run, can you please share your screen? If that would be okay. Thank you.
Ready and waiting.
Okay. Oh, actually, yes. Before we do that. Oh, let me just reshare mine. Oh, I missed a crucial bit. Oh, everybody's groaning a little bit inside, going, oh, Paul. So this event, okay, what we've done is we've got a little event in here called Community Centre Demo Only. And what it's doing is, actually, I better take, oh, there we go. We can see we've got Holly in here as the attendee, but you can have multiple attendees in here. And so what it's going to do, it's just going to be looking at this one event for this example, but it could look at any event or could be a selection of events that you've organised yourself. There we go. Thanks, Holly, if you wouldn't mind sharing. Thank you. Okay, so in a moment, Holly's going to get a card notification in Teams on her Teams, asking her like this. So it says automatic spontaneous event feedback community centre demo only. And then it's got this note on there saying this will expire. Now I've set this at 30 seconds to expire in 30 seconds. Only for time constraints for today. I was going to set it for an hour, but we all would have been sat here for an hour listening to me. You know, that wouldn't have been very pleasant for anybody, would it? No, it really wouldn't. So within about 30 seconds, this is going to time out and it's going to say, oh, there we are. Sorry, this question expired. And it's got this long time string on there. I could tidy that up, but I just did this for kind of speed, just to have some demos for today. So I could say this expired up Monday or such and such, or here's another link to go and do another. You know, this could be like a directed element, you know. Okay, so now what we're going to do though is we are going to run it again. Okay, Holly, are you feeling fast, Holly?
I'm ready to type.
Thank you. So Holly's got to type something in 30 seconds. So here we go. So there we go. So now Holly's writing her feedback in, and it's got like a bit of a spell checker in there as well, which is quite good. And then once Holly is finished, Holly just goes submit, boop, and then we get a little notification up. It says Paul Graham on there, but if you can imagine, that would probably be under a service account, and it would, you know, it would send. We could neaten this up again, just done this for speed. And so what this is doing now is, let me just show you the flow. So within the flow on here, if I come into here and say, right, so what this is doing is, this is saying manually trigger a flow, right? But this would be at a time, like this is the one that's on a schedule. This would probably send at like a, you know, a set time, or we could get it to send at a random time. And inside of here, what it's doing is saying, hey, go and get my profile, go and find out what my email address is. That's the first thing it's doing. It's all in blocks. You know, it's quite easy and they're all nicely coloured. I mean, I just like the colours a lot of the time. And then what it's doing is it's saying, go and get my calendar events. Now, in this one, I've just said, go and get them for the 15th of April. Okay, between the hours of 8 in the morning and 6 in the evening. 1800 hours for those people who like 24-hour clocks. And then I've said, further down here, I've said, well, then go and filter the information out of there and only find the events where I'm the organizer. So I'm saying if the organizer starts with my email address. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's quite easy when you see it. So I'm saying if it's me, right, just go and get those events. And then I'm saying create a response timer. So add 30 seconds to now. So if it's like, you know, inside of that, outside of that, but, you know, but just hover over that. I could say add minutes or add days or anything really. You could make that do anything you wanted to do. And then I'm saying, right, okay, we tidy up some of the recipients on there a little bit. but that's nothing to worry about. It's just a bit of what we're doing, just making it look a bit tidier. And then what we do is we create what's called an adaptive card, and that's what Holly's getting sent, where Holly types in, okay? And within here, it's just a bunch of code, but, right, just to make it a bit easier, look, if I go into here and I say adaptive card, see if I can type. I can, but my fingers don't work when I'm nervous. Like a terrible nerves, you know. Say adaptive card designer. If I click into here, right, look, you build your cards within this designer like that. So you don't have to learn any code. You can just go, oh, I want a picture there. I want this block in there. And then you just copy it out and then you plonk it into there like that. Boop. And then
we had a question about that, Paul. Danny's asked in the chat, does the timed out box, I think she means the card, does it not grey out once it's expired?
Good question. It could do, but for time, what I've done is I've just kind of done it in this kind of simple but we could do. If anybody wanted this building as an actual like real life thing, we would get the design team onto, and it wouldn't just be me and my 1970s block technology doing stuff, you know. So yeah, we can do that. Yes. Does that answer the question? Hopefully.
Are they able to still type into the box even if it says it's expired? Because
They
it didn't.
are.
See, because I was going to say it looked.
Who asked that really hard question?
Sorry, it's Danny.
Oh, no, I'm only joking. Yes, Danny, it could do. And again, what we do is we would tidy this up if we were doing it as a real solution. What we would do is we get it to remove that existing, previous message. Everything in Teams has got an ID associated with it. And so what we do is we'd say, oh, take the idea and like elevate it a bit like I'll tell you what I'm like, remember those orange booster rockets on the space shuttle? Do you remember that? Do you remember them?
No.
Anybody? No. Well, they were kind of the launch rockets, right? And that's all my job is. My job is to be the orange rockets to get you into space, and then it's your ideas, not my ideas, 'cause I haven't really got any. Okay. So then what it does is it creates the card, right? And then it does this bit. It starts doing language detection. So if I go into my my SharePoint list where it writes this in, okay. So on here, if I just give that a little refresh, boop, there we go. We can see in here, this is the session that Holly attended. Holly's the responder. The language is English, which is a bit of a spoiler for what we do next. And then it says, Paul, you are the best. I know it says nest, but I'm going to edit that bit out when we come to it. And then it says, this is brilliant.
I was trying to make it Easter themed, Paul, you know?
Oh, honestly, honestly, I never thought of that. That's fantastic. Thanks, Holly. You're really good. You're brilliant. See, that's brilliant. And then you can see the sentiments positive. So imagine if you had a long line of these, you could group on the session. You could say, I want to group on that. And that would just show me the session details, what people thought. I could group on the sentiment. In fact, SharePoint's really good for that nowadays. You can just say column settings. You can say, right, I want to format that, or I want to kind of group on this. There we are, group by sentiment. Boop. Now we'll just click that and off we go. Okay, ready for the next demo, Holly? Is that okay? Can we do that?
I'm ready.
Okay, so as you can see on here, we've also got this detect language in text block. So if people type in a different language, we can get it to not only detect the language, but also analyze the sentiment in that other language and then write that into the SharePoint list, which is what this is doing here. Again, it's super simple. Okay, so I'm going to go back into here. Holly, would you mind sharing again, please?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say run. Boop. There we go. And then hopefully Holly is going to get another card up. There we go. Automatic spontaneous event feedback. Holly is fluent in German, by the way. And like ways I could never be. Although I can count to 10 in German. See if I can still do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that correct? Is that right?
That is correct.
Oh, good. My dad was a German language teacher. When he used to take the dog for a walk, used to take Toby for a walk. He used to kind of like drill it into me. So I would. But that's all I can do now. Oh, I can do 12. Elf, wolf. Anyway, there we go. So the
Great
Holly's.
effort.
I'm such an amateur at everything. Okay, so in here now, look, we've got this. You can see that this is written it in. It's picked it up that it's German. Okay, and then it does the sentiment analysis in there, and it does it and it makes it positive. And that's, that is, I think that's absolutely fantastic. So again, imagine, I know it's a simple idea, right? But imagine you've got like you've got a contact center, yeah, and you've got customers all over the world. Hey, you can send that out, and then you can get feedback from them. And again, if it was Twitter, looking at the sentiment analysis again, you could go and do a whole bunch of analysis on that, or you can get it to auto translate as well. Oh, it's a massive thing, right? It's massive in terms of community. It's absolutely fantastic. What does the community think of me? Great. It's really, really good. That was part 2. So yeah. So anyway, is everybody okay with part 2 before we go to part 3? Any questions on part 2? No? Okay. Marvelous. Okay. Part 3. Part 3 is really, honestly, like part 3 is like probably the best thing I've ever done in my life so far. And I'm 51 in 3 days' time. Like, it's like the best thing I've ever done ever, honestly. Okay, so here's the question to the group, right? How do we know about the following? How do we know about the Bronze Age collapse? How do we know about that? Anybody? How do we know about the Bronze Age? Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll do the first one and then you can do the next, okay? We know because it was written down by the Sumerians in cuneiform, right? And did you know the Sumerians were the first? Oh, very good, thanks, Holly. They were the first civilization to have 2 language systems. Before that, people had a counting system because they wanted to know what people had. But the Sumerians actually had a whole language system that had counting and they had words, so they were able to write poetry. And there's a really good one about a boy who, like, he's doing his lines in school because they all learn by rote, and he gets whacked a lot in that. He's saying, I learned how to do that and they hit me. I learned how to do this and they hit. Anyway, it's good. It's a good poem, and that's from about 8,000 BC. Oh, wow. Anyway, so we know about the Bronze Age collapse, right? Because of the Sumerians, and also that's why we've got a 6 base system for time. Did you know that, Ellie? Isn't that good? That's why there's 60 minutes in an hour. Anyway, move on, Paul. Okay, I love the Sumerians. If anyone wants to talk to me about the Sumerians in the future, just drop me a line. I love them. Okay, right. How do we know, right, about Moses? How do we know about let my people go? How do we know about that? Because it's written down in the Hebrew Bible. You're right. That's right. That's why. Okay. How do we know about Henry VIII's love life? Because it was written down by the Venetian ambassador, who was the ambassador of the court of Henry VIII. He's the one who blew the whistle on Henry VIII. How exciting is that? If he wasn't there writing it down, he would, the Great Fire of London, Samuel Pepys, who wouldn't know, Samuel Pepys, when the Fire of London was raging, he went and buried some cheese in his back garden. It was a common thing to do if there was a fire. Anyway, there you go. Okay, so, right, websites. That's what this is all about. It's all about permanency. It's all about leaving your legacy upon a community, just like those people in history, okay? So one of the big problems with modern day life, I find, okay, is all our social media interactions, the fleeting, they're like over in a second. You do a post, you might get 19 likes if I'm lucky, if it's a good day, and everybody who knows me's turned up and they've liked it. But they're gone. They're gone. You might do a blog and it's gone. You've done a blog on LinkedIn, and then it's gone. Your thoughts are lost. The events that you have, they just vanish into this like never-ending noise of clutter on social media platforms. It's like, it's really bad, because like, a lot of the things about being a human, if you think about the stuff that we create nowadays, we are super creative. We are making like loads of things. And all I'm saying is, like, let's not lose them, okay? If we could store them somewhere central and we could store them somewhere safely and for a low cost or even for free, Okay, that would be absolutely fantastic, you know. Now, I think we've all heard of things like, is it Weebly? Is it Weebly? Yeah. See, when I was a kid, Weeblies were toys, and it was like Weeblies wobble, but they don't fall down. Anyway, so the things like that, and there's Wix, and there's all these different but you've got to pay like £10 a month or $10 a month. You've got to give people like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. I want to. So the thing I'm going to show you now, it's a free technology, and it's absolutely awesome. Okay, and I don't really fully understand it, Bill, you know, but I'm going to show you the bits I do understand, and hopefully, if you want to do the same, I think it's really, really cool. So this is it. So I'm going to share my screen again now. Okay, and here we go. So this part of the demo, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at something called Netlify. I don't know if anybody's heard of Netlify. It's a weird name, isn't it, Netlify, when you think about it. But what it does is it lets you create websites. So on here, if I go to my GitHub, or GitHub, I should call it. If Matthew Howard's on the call, he would tell me off for calling it Git, because it's all about Git, and that's how it all works. So if I go to GitHub, then on here I have got like lots of different folders. So I've got this one here called you know, Megna Hugo. I've got one called Community Center, and all I've done is if I go to a site called, if I go to something called Hugo, like say themes. Now these are website themes, right? So if you know, if I just click on these are all different themes that we can use to do what we want to do. If I say showcase, it should hopefully take us somewhere good. Here we go. So these are all like templates for different websites that we can host. And again, with me being quite lazy, you know, I'd say to get a good template and then adjust it. You know, so I'm putting my kind of imprint and design on something, but I'm just going to try and do it in a, you know, in a quick way. Like somebody who's actually got real design skill. I mean, Danny, I know you could make a really good website. You know, I just know you could because you're full of design ideas. But for me, you know, I've got the heart of a poet, but I can't draw. Can't draw for toffee. I really can't. Anyway, so these are all different templates. So what I've done is I've clicked on one of these in the past like this, and then I've gone, okay, now what I want to do is I want to add this to my GitHub. And there's a button on there. That's how I've done it. And then so it moves them to GitHub. The theme we're going to be looking at today is a theme called Megna Hugo. If I actually go in here and say Meg, I should have it hopefully with a bit of luck. Yeah, Theme Fisher. I do. So this is where it actually resides within GitHub. And what you can do is you can copy these. If I just move this down, look, this is what it looks like. Experience a new reality. It's got like, you know, this is how the web page works. I don't need to be worried about GitHub. GitHub is just a storage area. That's all it is. It's just a box. It's a box on the internet. You put things into it, okay, and then you can use them. So what we're doing here is we are copying this. So I can click on fork, for example, and I can copy that to mine. I've already done this on mine. So what I'll do is I'll just flick back to mine. This is my version of Megna Hugo. And then what I can say is I can say use this template. Okay, so if I click on this template, we'll just give it a name. We'll just call it, oh, hold on, so what can we call it? And we can call it legacy, because that's good. I said legacy, legacy site. Okay, good. Now I'm going to say, yeah, create a repository from this template. Boop. Doesn't take long. And what I've got is I've got a website. Look, gang, how cool! There we go. Well, I haven't got a website. I've got a storage. I've got all the bits of a website, but in a box. Okay, and then there's two other technologies that we use with this to kind of bring it together. The next one we do is something called forestry. Now, whenever you have a website, you don't want to be, well, I don't want to have to be going into here and like editing all these like text documents individually. I mean, does anybody do that? Would anybody want to do that? I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I just want to see a nice front end that lets me type things in. So the first thing for me to do is I'm going to go to a site called Forestry.io, and I think Holly's got the links for these. So
I do. Just a quick question, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Danny's asked, is GitHub kind of like SharePoint?
Yes, GitHub is free. So everything I'm showing you, this is all free stuff. It's just, yeah, it's like SharePoint, but like it's like a SharePoint that anybody can use. You don't have to be a member of anything. You can just join it, and you can put all your code in there, and you can like work on it and push it up, and then you can copy it. I think, but they call it forking. And to be honest with you, like, because I'm a technology whisperer, you know, I don't really understand this stuff. So I've got, you know, but it is fantastic and it's great for this kind of thing. But yeah, good question. Okay, so on here, this is forestry. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sites like so, and I'm going to say add site, and I'm going to say, hey, it's another Hugo site. These are all different types of, you know, website content providers. Now I'm going to say it's on GitHub. I'm going to say next. It's quite easy, this, don't you think? And then it's going to say which one do you want to do? Well, it's this legacy website. That's what we've just created, right? And then it says, oh, where's the config file? And so that sits here. It's always an example site thing, and it's just called config. It just tells it where to look for certain files. Config toml, and say, yeah, check that next. And then it's off. It's going to do the site designers for us. So that brings us in. If anybody's used WordPress in the past, it's very WordPressy. But look on here now, I can start seeing, oh, we've got a home page and we've got bits and pieces. If I click into here, we can probably see on computer. You can see it's got things in 2 different languages, English and French, because this is what this template has. And if I click into banner, I can see how the banner's made on here. Look, it's like it's got an image, right? And it's got, you know, it says work is changing on this particular example, because it's the one that me and Holly played about with yesterday. So it's just a copy of a copy. That's all it is. And so then I can then turn this into a website. So if I go to a site called Netlify, okay, this is like where the real kind of fairy magic begins. This is like that Pinocchio moment. If anybody's a big fan of the film Pinocchio, love Pinocchio. This is the bit where I think is he called Giuseppe? Pinocchio's dad gets the bit of wood and he's carved it. So we've carved the bit of wood. It looks like a boy, and then is it Tinkerbell? I can't be Tinkerbell. Anyway, fairy comes along and says, oh, I know you always wanted a real son. I always knew you wanted a website. So like Netlify's the fairy in this example and makes the website. So when we're in here, if I say log in, hopefully it's gonna log me in. Yeah, go on, know who I am. Yeah, look, my name on these things is Paulie Wally 222. How good's that? Really good. So on here, all I'm going to say is, right, add a new site. I'm going to say import an existing project. I'm going to say, hey, it's on GitHub. My storage is on GitHub. It goes authorized. Then it says, well, which one is it? Oh, it's the legacy website. I want you to go and get that. And then on here, it's got a bunch of things that it just does for you. And then I'll say, right, deploy the site. That easy. And then it takes about 2 minutes. This is great, this, because it gives them great names. This is called Tiny Biscotti. Sometimes, I mean, so let's see what my other ones are called. They're fantastic. There, look, capable. I don't even know what Mamul, whatever that is. I don't know. Now, obviously, a real one called Work is Changing. Just while it's building that, just so you know, you can associate domain names to these things and make them actually live and real. Okay, so Holly and I yesterday we had loads of fun. We went and bought a domain name for £1.20 sterling, and then we associated it with this particular site, and it was dead easy. We just had to change some options. You would never have thought that I worked in IT as I went through doing it, because I couldn't even read either. But it was quite easy, wasn't it, Holly? It was great.
Very easy.
It was very easy. And so we created a website called Work is Changing. If I give that a little click, oh, come on, I know you want to work. My computer's not very good. Come on. Oh. There we go. It is my computer. I'll tell you, it's not the website. If you want to go to a site called Work is Changing on your particular devices or phones and stuff, it does work. Oh, Paul, that's really bad. Anyway. So now if I go back under here, that website we've just built should be built. So there's Tiny Biscotti. If I give that a click, oh, maybe it's not going to work. Let's see if it is. Oh, the tension. You can cut the tension, can't you, and do this kind of thing. Oh, there we are. Look, there's Work is Changing. And so you can see we've got this website. We've changed it a little bit. We made some of the background yellow. We changed the words on here. If I go to tiny biscotti, is that going to work? Come on. There we go. Okay, I just want to show you how easy this is to change. Okay, so in here, this is the one that we've been looking at. It says work is changing. Okay, on here we're going to say Elnora is fab. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully that's okay, Elnora. And then we're going to say save, right? We could even change the image if we wanted to. But I just want to show you how easy it is to kind of to change these things. So now I've done that and I've saved it. If we just give this a second, then what it should do is it should adjust the text for us. My computer's really bad. If anybody wants to buy me a new computer, hint, hint, Systock people, a Mac would be nice because they just work. I love Mac. I love Apple stuff. Not really, I don't know why I advocate for Microsoft, because, Anyway, if I get that link, okay, gang, if I get that link and I populate that into the chat on here, then you should see the change on that site and just see it's live. I mean, how easy was that, right? It was dead easy. We just made a website and it's like fully alive and everything. And if you went and bought a domain, so let's say we went and bought a domain called Eleanor's Fab, you could have a domain. How good? Wow. Anyway, it's good, isn't it? It's really good. It's really, really good. So there we go. Excellent. Any other questions, Holly? Or any questions from anybody at all?
No questions, but I think £1.20 for the domain name, absolute bargain, would highly recommend.
Yeah, it was fast something, fast and cheap domain names or something. But honestly, it worked superbly well. So if anybody, and again, if anybody wants to chat with me about that, or if anybody, wants half an hour, just get in touch. Or actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will pop my Systock email on here as well if anybody wants to contact me. paul.graham@systock.co.uk. There we go. Right. Mega. Okie dokie. So, Jack, I'll tell you what, I had other things to do just to scare people, but I'm not going to do that now, because what I was going to do is going to show you like what community's like in the future, which is just going to be like loads of digital humans and loads of things about our future selves. There was some research done recently that said that we're not just one thing, and I've been doing this on my LinkedIn profile picture recently, whereby I kind of keep on changing my profile picture from being an old person to being a young person to being somebody who's got false teeth. But the point of doing that, right, is to say that we're all many different people from one moment to the next. We're not just one thing, we're really complicated. And now I was just going to say, I think in the future, what we'll do is we will have virtual avatars. I mean, it'll be versions of ourselves, but it'll be the version that we want to project. And we're all doing that to a greater or lesser extent at the moment. And again, just to say, thank you very much for attending. The world of the future is ours. Yeah, thank you very, very much. Thank you. Jack, over to you, my friend. Thank you.
Sorry, was there anything else that you did want to go through for the future?
No, mate. No, I don't. Thanks.
Nice one. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that. Brilliant and really interesting stuff. But just to close it off, guys, I think we'll go with a little quote. So we've got one here from Sean Garrity. It's just that the technology you use impresses no one. The experience you create with it is everything. And I think from the technology we've seen today and the potential that you can have around this, especially how it does interact with the community, is massive, right? So thank you very much, Paul, for showing us how some of these free technologies are readily available, and hopefully we can get some of those used as well in the future. We say community means different things for loads of different people, and that technology is really showing us, I'm sure it will have given loads of different people ideas of how they can use it themselves. And from today's session, if you did have any of those ideas of how you want to see technology used, please feel free to drop us a message and we can try and build it into the next session. Or if there's something that you just wanted us to work on, please just feel free to drop a message. And thank you very much again for attending today. It's been a really good session, really interesting. And if you do have a chance, just take a look at that feedback form. Give us any feedback, good or bad, in there. And then we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
You're the best. Woo, heart. Bye-bye.
Hey, well done, guys.
Great session, team.
Well done. We played
Brilliant.
like Sunderland.
Oh, we didn't. We